Have you ever wondered how a single island can hold secrets found nowhere else on Earth? That island is Taiwan. Here, steep mountains rise straight from the sea. Subtropical forests cling to the slopes. Bamboo groves whisper in the wind. And in these wild places live birds so rare, so unique, that you cannot see them anywhere else. 15 species, 15 stories. The regal Swinhoe's pheasant, flashing deep blue and crimson in the shadows. The bold Taiwan Blue Magpie, with streaming tails and raucous cries. The jewel-like Taiwan Barbet, hammering trees with its ringing call. And the tiny Taiwan Cupwing, hidden in mossy undergrowth, a voice far louder than its body. Some are comical, some are elegant, some are fierce. All are woven into Taiwan's landscapes, its culture, and its natural heritage. In this journey, we'll travel from lowland bamboo thickets to high mountain ridges, discovering the rare birds that make Taiwan a true island of wonders. So join me as we explore Birds of Taiwan, 15 rare species found nowhere else. In the misty forests of Taiwan's central mountains, a flash of color suddenly breaks through the shadows. Deep sapphire blue, streaks of white, and a crimson face glowing like fire. Step closer, and you realize you've met the king of Taiwan's forests, the Swinhoe's pheasant. This bird is rare, shy, and unforgettable. The males are breathtaking, iridescent blue plumage that shimmers in the light, a long tail tipped in white, and bright red wattles around the eyes. Females, in contrast, are cloaked in earthy browns, blending into the forest floor, quietly guarding their nests. Here's a fun fact. The Swinhoe's pheasant is found only in Taiwan, nowhere else in the world. It was first described in the 19th century by Robert Swinhoe, a British naturalist who marveled at its beauty. Today, it remains one of Taiwan's national treasures, even appearing on the country's currency. They live in dense forests at mid to high elevations, scratching the ground for seeds, fruits, and insects. Usually seen alone or in pairs, they move cautiously, vanishing into thickets at the slightest disturbance. To spot one in the wild is considered a gift, a fleeting encounter with living royalty. Culturally, this pheasant symbolizes pride and identity. To many Taiwanese, it represents the island's unique natural heritage. Conservation programs have helped protect its shrinking habitat, and today it is a flagship species for forest preservation. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen something so vivid, so regal, that it felt as if the forest itself had chosen its own emblem? That's the Swinhoe's pheasant. So the next time you picture Taiwan's mountain forests, imagine this bird, a rare jewel hidden among the shadows, too precious to exist anywhere else. Deep within Taiwan's evergreen forests, where the ground is cool and damp and sunlight struggles to pierce the canopy, a quiet rustle betrays a presence. Step carefully, and you may catch a glimpse of a small, plump bird scurrying across the forest floor, vanishing into cover almost before you notice it. The Taiwan partridge. At first sight, it might seem modest compared to the flashy pheasants of these same mountains. Its plumage is a mix of soft browns, grays, and chestnut tones, perfectly matched to the forest floor. But look closer, and you'll see the delicate patterning, a speckled breast, fine barring on the flanks, and a bright red ring around the eyes that gives the bird a spark of character. Here's a fun fact. The Taiwan partridge is entirely endemic, found nowhere else in the world. It spends nearly its whole life on the ground, scratching through leaf litter for seeds, shoots, and small insects. Unlike songbirds that fill the air with music, this partridge speaks in low whistles and soft clucks, a secret language meant for the undergrowth. Because it is shy and quick, most encounters are fleeting. Locals sometimes spot them at dawn or dusk, when the forest grows quiet and the birds venture onto open trails. To see one well is considered a rare reward, even for experienced birders. Culturally, the Taiwan partridge symbolizes the hidden wealth of the island's biodiversity. While it may lack the glamour of a Swinhoe's pheasant or the drama of a blue magpie, its very presence is proof of Taiwan's ecological uniqueness. Every rustle in the leaf litter reminds us that rare beauty can live in the shadows, yet the partridge is vulnerable. Logging, habitat loss, and disturbance threaten its fragile home. Conservationists warn that protecting Taiwan's forests is not just about saving trees, but also about preserving the lives that depend on them. Lives like this quiet, ground-dwelling bird. Now let me ask you, have you ever walked through a forest and realized that its secrets are not always in the treetops, but right under your feet? That's the Taiwan partridge. So the next time you imagine Taiwan's mountain woods, picture a shy little bird, perfectly camouflaged, carrying the story of an island's hidden richness. Walk through the bamboo thickets of Taiwan at dawn, and the air is alive with sound. A rapid, rolling chorus bursts from the undergrowth, clear, loud, and unmistakable. The voice belongs not to a songbird perched above, but to a secretive ground dweller hidden among the stalks, the Taiwan bamboo partridge. This bird is built for the forest floor. Plump-bodied with short wings and strong legs, it prefers running to flying, darting between bamboo stems with surprising speed. Its plumage is a subtle mix of browns, grays, and buff tones, patterned with fine spots and bars that mimic the dappled shadows of the forest. At a glance, it disappears into the ground cover, almost invisible until it calls. Here's a fun fact. Its Latin name sonorivox literally means sonorous voice, and for good reason. The Taiwan bamboo partridge is famous for its loud, ringing duet. Males and females call together in a rapid series of notes that echo across valleys. To locals, the sound is as much a part of the landscape as the rustle of bamboo leaves in the wind. Unlike the rarer Taiwan partridge, this species is relatively common, even venturing close to villages and farmlands. Farmers often hear its calls at sunrise, marking the rhythm of rural life. But seeing one is still a challenge. It vanishes into cover at the slightest movement, leaving only its echo behind. In Taiwanese culture, its calls are familiar and even comforting, a reminder that the countryside is alive and healthy. Birdwatchers treasure its song as much as its sight, for it connects human life to the natural rhythms of the land. Yet, like many forest birds, it faces pressures. Habitat changes and hunting have affected its numbers in the past. Today, conservation efforts aim to ensure its rolling chorus never falls silent. Now let me ask you, have you ever heard a sound so woven into a place that you can't think of one without the other? That's the Taiwan bamboo partridge. So the next time you picture Taiwan's bamboo forests, imagine this shy bird, hidden in the shadows, singing loudly enough to carry across an entire valley. In the sweltering heat of a Taiwanese summer, the forest fills with a sound that seems almost mechanical. Talk, 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 talk. The notes ring steadily like a wooden mallet striking a hollow log. Search the branches and eventually you'll find the source. A small, stocky bird with a rainbow painted across its feathers. The Taiwan Barbet. This Barbet is a jewel of the canopy. Its head is a kaleidoscope. Emerald green cheeks, a crimson throat patch, a golden crown, and a splash of turquoise across the face. The body is mostly green, helping it blend into leaves, but when sunlight catches it, the bird glows like a gemstone hidden in plain sight. Here's a fun fact. Despite its size, barely 9 inches long, the Taiwan Barbet produces one of the loudest, most repetitive calls in the forest. During the breeding season, its hammering song can echo for hours, a steady soundtrack to summer days. Locals call it the spirit of the forest bell, a sound so distinctive that it defines the season. They feed mostly on fruits, swallowing figs and berries whole, then later regurgitating seeds that help regenerate the forest. In this way, the Taiwan Barbet is both singer and gardener, shaping the land with every meal. Culturally, the bird's presence is cherished. Its call is nostalgic for many Taiwanese, marking childhood summers and country mornings. Some even liken it to a natural clock. When the Barbet sings, you know the day has begun. Yet even this common sound has grown fragile in places. Deforestation threatens the old trees where barbets nest in hollow cavities. Conservationists now emphasize that saving these trees means preserving both the bird and its iconic call. Now let me ask you, have you ever heard a sound so tied to a season or place that, even years later, it brings memories rushing back? That's the Taiwan Barbet. So the next time you imagine Taiwan's forests in summer, hear that a steady toke, talk, talk echoing through the green, a living bell tolling in the canopy. High in the mountains of Taiwan, a sudden racket shatters the morning calm. Harsh cries echo through the trees, and a flash of blue sweeps overhead. Long tails stream like ribbons, wings flashing violet in the sun. A whole flock tumbles into view, chasing one another through the branches with chaotic energy. The Taiwan Blue Magpie. This bird is impossible to mistake. Its body glows deep cobalt blue, accented by a black head, red bill, and fiery red legs. The tail is extraordinary, long, graceful, tipped in bold white bands that fan out dramatically in flight. At nearly 2 feet from head to tail, it looks like a living banner unfurling in the forest. Here's a fun fact. Unlike most magpies that forage alone, the Taiwan Blue Magpie is deeply social. They live in noisy flocks, often called groups of 7, swooping together like a tight-knit clan. These groups mob predators, chase away intruders, and even share food, passing scraps from one bill to another. Their intelligence and teamwork have earned them the nickname Guardians of the Forest. Their diet is eclectic: fruits, insects, reptiles, even small mammals. They are bold around humans too, raiding orchards or following hikers, sometimes with what seems like mischievous curiosity. Culturally, the Taiwan Blue Magpie is iconic. It is celebrated as a national symbol, appearing in art, postage stamps, and tourism campaigns. Locals admire its beauty and resilience, and seeing a flock sweep across a valley is considered a lucky sign. But like many forest dwellers, it faces challenges. Habitat loss threatens its range, though it adapts better than some species, often thriving near villages and secondary forests. Still, conservationists warn that its survival depends on protecting Taiwan's diverse woodlands. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen a group so loud, so colorful, and so united that they seem to embody the spirit of a place? That's the Taiwan Blue Magpie. So the next time you picture Taiwan's highland forests, imagine this dazzling bird. Tails streaming, voices raised, a living chorus of color and sound. In the cool, mist-draped forests of Taiwan's central mountains, a tiny flash of sunlight hops between the branches. Bright yellow feathers gleam against the dark green pines, while a bold black crest rises like a tiny crown. Though small, this bird carries the spirit of the forest in its colors and song, the yellow tit. Barely 5 inches long, this little bird looks like a spark of gold flitting through the canopy. Its head is striking, black throat and crest offset by glowing yellow cheeks. The body is drenched in yellow with subtle black streaks running down the chest. It is both delicate and bold, a living jewel against the shadowed forest. Here's a fun fact. Despite its size, the yellow tit has a big personality. It is curious, energetic, and vocal, often moving in small flocks that chatter constantly as they forage for insects and seeds. Their calls are high-pitched and busy, adding a lively soundtrack to the highland woods. But the yellow tit is also fragile. Endemic to Taiwan, it lives only in montane forests, relying on healthy stands of broadleaf and conifer trees. Habitat loss and fragmentation have reduced its range, making it a near-threatened species. For birdwatchers, spotting one is a highlight of any trip to Taiwan, but it often requires patience and a good ear for its sharp calls. Culturally, the bird embodies a kind of hidden treasure. To many locals, its bright feathers symbolize joy and vitality, and its presence is seen as a sign of a thriving forest. Conservation groups often feature it in campaigns to protect mountain habitats, using its beauty as a call to action. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen something so small, yet so radiant, that it seemed to carry the light of an entire place? That's the yellow tit. So the next time you imagine Taiwan's misty mountain forests, picture this tiny bird, a streak of gold alive with energy, found nowhere else on Earth. On a crisp mountain morning in Taiwan, the forest suddenly bursts into chatter. A wave of small birds sweeps into the trees, tiny bodies flitting among leaves, wings flicking, tails fanning, voices ringing in cheerful chorus. At the heart of this commotion is one of Taiwan's most beloved endemics, the Taiwan Yuhina. Barely 4 inches long, it is a bundle of energy. Its plumage is soft gray-brown, with a warm buff chest and a curious little crest that flicks up like a tuft of hair. But its most distinctive feature is its call, a bright, bubbling chatter that seems almost like laughter. When an entire flock sings together, the forest feels like it has erupted into a festival. Here's a fun fact. Taiwan Yuhinas are social to the core. They move in flocks of dozens, sometimes hundreds, darting through treetops in synchronized waves. They feed on nectar, berries, and insects, often seen clinging upside down to flowers like acrobats. Their favorite food? The blossoms of Taiwan cherry trees, which they pollinate as they sip nectar, turning feeding time into an ecological service. Unlike many shy birds, these Yuhinas are approachable and often seen near human settlements in the mountains. For locals, their cheerful presence is deeply tied to springtime, when cherry blossoms bloom and Yuhinas gather in colorful clouds among the pink flowers. Culturally, the Taiwan Yuhina is cherished as a symbol of joy and community. Its flocks embody togetherness, reminding people that strength and beauty often come from living in harmony. Birdwatchers adore them too, not just because they are endemic, but because they make every outing feel festive. Now let me ask you, have you ever witnessed a crowd so cheerful, so full of energy, that it turned an ordinary place into a celebration? That's the Taiwan Yuhina. So the next time you imagine Taiwan's mountain forests, picture these little birds, crests lifted, voices raised, turning the trees into a living carnival of sound and color. The forest is hushed, the air thick with mist. Then from the undergrowth, a clear fluting song rises, sweet liquid notes that echo among the trees. You follow the sound, scanning the branches until a shadow darts into view. A long, curved bill gleams against striped plumage, the streak-breasted scimitar babbler. This medium-sized bird is dressed in earthy browns and grays, its throat and breast streaked with pale lines that give it a textured look. But what truly sets it apart is that extraordinary beak, long, down-curved, and sharp like a scimitar blade. It is a tool crafted by evolution, perfect for probing bark, soil, and moss in search of hidden insects. Here's a fun fact. Despite its powerful appearance, this babbler is not a loner. It is highly social, living in small, tight-knit groups that move together through dense undergrowth. As they forage, they keep up constant contact calls, a gentle chorus of whistles and chatter, so that no member is ever left behind. Their voices are as remarkable as their beaks. The streak-breasted scimitar babbler's song is rich and melodious, often delivered in duets or group choruses. Birdwatchers describe it as one of the most beautiful forest sounds in Taiwan, a soundtrack to misty mornings in the mountains. Culturally, these babblers embody community and persistence. They are not flamboyant like pheasants or magpies, but their strength lies in togetherness. Voices blending, beaks working, lives intertwined. For many Taiwanese nature lovers, their song is inseparable from the highland forests where they thrive. But like so many endemic species, they are vulnerable. Habitat loss threatens the dense woodlands they depend on. Conservationists stress that protecting the forest means protecting its music, the voices that give life to silence. Now let me ask you, have you ever heard a sound so pure, so resonant, that it felt like the forest itself was singing to you? That's the streak-breasted scimitar babbler. So the next time you picture Taiwan's mist-shrouded mountains, imagine this bird, beak curved like a blade, song clear as morning light, a voice and a shape found nowhere else. Step into the foothill forests of Taiwan, and you may hear a rich, whistling duet. The notes rise and fall like a conversation carried on the breeze. Then through the tangle of vines, a bird appears, streaked brown, white throat gleaming, and across its chest, a bold black band like a necklace of ink. The black necklaced scimitar babbler. At first glance, it resembles its cousin, the streak-breasted scimitar babbler. Both share the same long, curved bill, shaped like a scythe, used to probe for insects in bark, leaf litter, and rotting wood. But the necklace makes this species unmistakable, a striking mark that sets it apart in the shadowy forest. Here's a fun fact. These babblers are masters of duets. A pair will sing together in perfect synchronization, one starting a phrase, the other finishing it, creating a seamless song that sounds like a single bird. Scientists believe these duets help strengthen pair bonds and defend territory, a love song and a battle cry woven into one. Their behavior is lively and social. Small groups move through the undergrowth in constant motion, tails flicking, wings fluttering, bills probing into every crevice. Their calls and songs keep them bound together, a chorus that ensures no bird is ever alone. Culturally, the black-necklaced scimitar babbler embodies the hidden drama of Taiwan's forests. Though not as famous as the Swinhoe's pheasant or blue magpie, its voice is beloved by birders who seek out the subtle magic of the undergrowth. For locals, hearing their duets at dawn is like listening to the forest wake itself up. But like many endemics, they depend on intact forests. Logging and fragmentation threaten the continuity they need. Their survival is tied to the preservation of Taiwan's woodland tapestry. Now let me ask you, have you ever heard two voices so perfectly woven together that they felt like one? That's the black-necked scimitar babbler. So the next time you wander Taiwan's lowland forests, listen for that haunting duet, a melody carried on the mist, sung by birds that exist nowhere else. High in Taiwan's misty mountain ranges, the stillness of dawn is often broken by laughter. Not human laughter, but a chorus of musical chuckles and chatter tumbling through the fog. And then, like a troop of forest clowns, a flock of birds bursts from the undergrowth, sleek, lively, and unmistakable. The white-whiskered laughing thrush. This bird is medium-sized, dressed in warm brown plumage, with pale streaks across the wings. But its defining feature is the crisp white line along the face, like a whisker, that gives it a sharp, animated look. When seen in groups, the bright facial markings flicker through the branches as if the forest itself has started to grin. Here's a fun fact. Laughing thrushes are rarely seen alone. They travel in boisterous flocks, sometimes dozens strong, moving like a rolling wave through shrubs and trees. As they forage for insects, fruits, and seeds, they keep up a constant chorus of whistles, chirps, and chuckling calls. For birders, the sound is as memorable as the sight, like a lively party hidden in the mist. These birds are fearless and inquisitive. In popular hiking spots in Taiwan, flocks of white-whiskered laughing thrushes often approach people, hopping along trails, sometimes even begging for scraps. Their boldness makes them a favorite among hikers, who see them as cheerful companions of the mountains. Culturally, they've earned the title Voice of the Highlands. To locals, their laughter-like calls are a symbol of joy, reminding travelers that even in the most remote mountains, life thrives. Some say their chatter brings good luck, like friends welcoming you to their home. But this joy comes with responsibility. As highland specialists, they depend on intact forests above 2,000 meters. Climate change and habitat disturbance threaten the places they call home. Protecting them means protecting the soul of Taiwan's mountains. Now let me ask you, have you ever been hiking and felt lifted by the simple joy of birdsong all around you? That's the white-whiskered laughing thrush. So the next time you picture Taiwan's alpine forests, imagine these birds, a chorus of laughter, white whiskers flashing, turning the mountains into a stage alive with sound. In Taiwan's high mountain forests, a clear, liquid song carries across the valleys. It rises and falls like a flute, drifting over mossy trees and misty ridges. Follow the sound, and soon you'll see a slender bird, tail streaming, with a bold white patch shining like an earring against its dark head, the white-eared Sibia. This elegant bird is cloaked in soft gray plumage, with a long tail edged in white that flicks gracefully as it moves. But it is the striking white patch behind the ear that gives the bird its name and its unmistakable look. In the dappled forest light, the mark stands out like a beacon, as if the bird wears a touch of snow on its face. Here's a fun fact. The white-eared Sibia is a master singer. Each bird produces a varied, melodious song that can last for minutes, weaving whistles and warbles into a flowing performance. Bird watchers often compare its voice to a flute or a piccolo, delicate yet powerful enough to carry far through the mountain air. Their diet is just as varied as their song. They feed on berries, nectar, and insects, playing an important role as seed dispersers and pollinators. Watching one sip nectar from a flower, long tail swaying, is like watching a dancer take a bow. Unlike the rowdy laughing thrush, Sibias are refined and graceful. They move in pairs or small groups, never in chaotic flocks, and their presence feels like a gentle melody woven into the forest rhythm. Culturally, the white-eared Sibia is cherished as a symbol of elegance and music. For hikers and villagers in Taiwan's central ranges, its song is part of the mountain's identity. Many describe hearing a Sibia's voice as one of the most enchanting sounds of the highlands. But as with so many mountain birds, its world is fragile. Habitat loss and climate change threaten the forest where it thrives. Protecting these spaces means preserving not only the bird, but the music it brings to the wild. Now let me ask you, have you ever been in a place so quiet that a single song seemed to fill the whole landscape? That's the white-eared Sibia. So the next time you picture Taiwan's alpine forests, imagine this bird, long tail flowing, white ear patch glowing, voice rising like a flute over the mountains. In Taiwan's mid-elevation forests, a tiny, restless bird flits from branch to branch, never still for more than a moment. Black cap shining, wings flicking, it pauses just long enough for you to notice the warm chestnut blaze across its belly. The chestnut-bellied tit. This bird is petite, barely 4.5 inches long, but its colors give it presence. Its head is jet black, cheeks pure white, and body soft gray, with the belly glowing in rich brown. That chestnut patch is its signature, a warm, earthy contrast that sets it apart from other tits. Here's a fun fact. Despite its size, the chestnut-bellied tit is bold and curious. It often forages in mixed flocks with other small birds, darting among leaves for insects and seeds. Their quick, chattering calls keep the group together, a constant reminder that even tiny birds rely on teamwork. They are cavity nesters, carving out little homes in tree holes or old woodpecker hollows. In spring, males sing rapid, high-pitched notes, staking out territory and attracting mates with a voice far louder than their body suggests. Endemic to Taiwan, this species is relatively common in forested hillsides, yet it still carries the aura of something special. For birders, spotting one is always a delight, not because it is rare, but because it adds life and color to every corner of the woods. Culturally, the chestnut-bellied tit is often overlooked compared to the grand Swinhoe's pheasant or the iconic blue magpie. But for those who spend time in the forest, it represents the small treasures that give the ecosystem its richness. Its energy is contagious, a reminder that liveliness often comes in small packages. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen a creature so small, yet so full of energy, that it seemed to carry the forest's heartbeat in its tiny body? That's the chestnut-bellied tit. So the next time you picture Taiwan's wooded hills, imagine this little bird, chestnut belly flashing, voice sharp and lively, reminding us that even the smallest sparks help light up the wild. Along Taiwan's eastern coast, where fishing villages meet windswept cliffs and coastal plains, a lively chatter fills the air. Perched on power lines, swooping over gardens, or calling from seaside shrubs, a small, energetic bird makes its presence known. Its black crest bobs as it sings, and its white throat flashes bright in the sun. The Taiwan's bulbul. This bird is medium-sized with olive gray wings, a crisp white chest, and that unmistakable black cap that gives it character. Its song is a series of cheerful whistles and warbles, a voice that feels as much a part of the landscape as the crash of waves on the shore. Here's a fun fact. Unlike many endemics that hide deep in mountain forests, the Taiwan's bulbul thrives in open country, villages, and farmland. It is highly adaptable, feeding on fruits, seeds, and insects, often raiding orchards or joining flocks in coastal scrub. Its sociable nature makes it one of the most familiar endemic birds to local people. Culturally, this bulbul is deeply tied to Taiwan's identity. In some areas, it is affectionately called the coastal songbird, a companion to farmers, fishermen, and travelers along the east. Its adaptability reflects the resilience of the people who share its home, thriving in harsh winds, poor soils, and changing landscapes. But its story is not without struggle. Introduced bulbuls, especially the light-vented bulbul, compete with it for habitat and resources. In some regions, hybrids are becoming more common, threatening the pure bloodline of this rare endemic. Conservationists stress the importance of protecting the Stian's bulbul as a unique voice of Taiwan's coast. For birdwatchers, it is often the first endemic seen upon arrival, greeting visitors with cheerful calls as if to say, "Welcome to Taiwan." Now let me ask you, have you ever heard a song so familiar, so rooted in daily life, that it feels like home? That's the Stian's bulbul. So the next time you think of Taiwan's windswept shores, picture this lively bird, crest lifted, voice ringing, singing the story of an island found nowhere else. The forest floor in Taiwan's highlands is a world of moss and shadows. Fallen logs lie draped in ferns, stones slick with mist, roots twisting across the soil. In this quiet, hidden realm lives a bird so tiny you might never see it unless you follow its voice, the Taiwan Cupwing. Barely 3 inches long, this bird is smaller than a sparrow, round-bodied with a stumpy tail so short it looks almost tailless. Its plumage is a muted brown, finely patterned with scales and bars that let it vanish against rocks and leaf litter. Spotting one is nearly impossible. Hearing one, however, is unforgettable. Here's a fun fact. Despite its tiny size, the cupwing produces a song loud enough to fill a valley. Its voice is a series of clear whistling notes, rising and falling like a flute. Bird watchers often hear the song first, convinced it must belong to something larger, only to discover this little phantom of the forest floor. The Taiwan cupwing spends most of its life near the ground, darting among moss, roots, and stones to find insects and spiders. It moves in short, quick hops, more like a mouse than a bird, disappearing the instant it senses danger. Culturally, the cupwing has become a symbol of humility and hidden strength. Locals know it as a bird of the deep forest, rarely seen but always heard. To many, it embodies the idea that great voices can come from the smallest bodies. Its survival, however, depends on the health of Taiwan's highland forests. Logging, disturbance, and climate change could silence its powerful voice. Conservationists emphasize that protecting this bird means protecting the entire mountain ecosystem it represents. Now let me ask you, have you ever been surprised by a voice so strong, so clear, that you couldn't believe it came from someone so small? That's the Taiwan cupwing. So the next time you picture Taiwan's misty mountains, imagine this hidden bird, tiny, round, invisible in the moss, but singing with a voice that carries the soul of the forest. In the foothills and mid-elevation forests of Taiwan, the silence never lasts long. Suddenly a clamor rises, loud chatter, whistles, and scolding cries, tumbling together in a raucous chorus. A flock bursts from the thickets, tails flicking, wings flashing, rusty brown. The rusty laughing thrush. This bird is medium-sized, cloaked in warm chestnut plumage that gives it its name. The face is marked with subtle streaks, the body rounded and energetic, the long tail carried with constant flicks. In sunlight, its feathers glow like polished copper. And when dozens gather together, the effect is like a wave of rust-colored leaves sweeping through the undergrowth. Here's a fun fact. Laughing thrushes rarely travel alone. The rusty laughing thrush is particularly social, forming noisy flocks that forage together for insects, berries, and seeds. Their voices never stop, bursts of chatter and calls that seem chaotic, but in reality keep the flock tightly knit. For bird watchers, a single bird is a challenge to track, but a whole flock is impossible to ignore. These birds are bold. Unlike the elusive partridges or cupwings, laughing thrushes often come close to villages, gardens, and trails. They may raid fruit trees, hop around picnic spots, or even approach hikers curiously, their loud calls echoing as if scolding intruders. Culturally, they are seen as lively neighbors of the countryside. Their chatter is often compared to human conversation, always busy, always full of life. Some locals even say they bring good company to lonely travelers, filling the forest with noise and laughter. But as with so many endemics, their story depends on the forest. Though still common in many regions, habitat loss poses risks, and conservationists remind us that even abundant voices can fall silent if their homes vanish. Now let me ask you, have you ever been in a place where a noisy crowd transforms silence into something alive, even joyful? That's the rusty laughing thrush. So the next time you imagine Taiwan's lush hills, Picture these birds, chestnut feathers glowing, voices raised together, closing our journey with a chorus found nowhere else on earth. From the regal flash of the Swinhoe's pheasant to the tiny but powerful voice of the Taiwan Cupwing and the raucous chorus of the rusty laughing thrush, Taiwan has shown us a world of birds found nowhere else. 15 species, 15 glimpses into a living island. Some dazzled us with color, the sapphire blue of the Taiwan Blue Magpie, the rainbow face of the Taiwan Barbet, the golden glow of the yellow tit. Others charmed us with their voices, the melodic white-eared Sibia, the festival chatter of the Taiwan Yuhina, the ringing calls of the bamboo partridge. And some humbled us with their rarity, like the elusive Taiwan partridge, seen only in the quiet shadows of the forest. Together, these birds tell a story about more than feathers and song. They speak of an island's identity, shaped by mountains, forests, and people who share the land. They remind us that Taiwan is not just a place on the map. It is a living sanctuary, a chorus of voices unique to this corner of the earth. Now let me ask you, after meeting these 15 rare species, which bird will you carry with you? The bold magpie? The shy partridge? The laughing chorus of thrushes? Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep listening, keep watching, and remember, the rarest treasures are often the ones found only in one place, waiting to be discovered.